Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host. It's a hard word to say sometimes. Co-host with the homost, Zach Shevich. And joining me, he's stumbling groggily out of the Elgin Wintergreen Theater. It's Arturo Zurita.
That is hands down the most beautiful theater. I think our favorite is still the Mark from Sundance. Sundance is still my personal favorite film festival. But yeah, over here at TIFF. TIFF just wrapped up. I know we're going to be talking about a little bit of that. Right now I'm in Niagara Falls, as you can see from behind. It's dark over there. The falls, I think, have rested. But TIFF, crazy.
Yeah.
The Winter Garden Theater, hands down the most beautiful theater there. There is leaves in that theater.
All over the ceiling and shit. It's
like
real cool.
Yeah, it's like the Wrigley Field of movie cinemas. I loved it. It was great. It's fantastic. But back here doing number 40 of the podcast over here.
Yeah. We got to get back on our podcast groove. It's been a little difficult with Art's travels and just a busy September, but we are back giving you our weekly chats about the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. In a little bit, we are going to talk about what movies Art saw at TIFF, as well as a couple TV shows that I've been catching up with. But first, we're going to talk about what we've been watching. And Art, other than TIFF stuff, what have you been watching?
Bro, I've been trying to catch up on a couple of Predator stuff and things like that. Haven't really been big on the movies, but there is one thing that I watched. Obviously, had to hop on. You just mentioned it right now. Dealing with TV, is people have been asking me, you watching BoJack first or American Vandal first?
I asked
BoJack
you.
Yeah, you asked me. Everyone's been asking me. My dad called me up. He said, "How you been?" I said, "Sir." He said, "What are you watching first?" I chose American Vandal. I chose American Vandal mainly because I did not want that one spoiled for me, per se, knowing like what it was going to be about. And obviously I loved it. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's as... I didn't love it as much as the first season, but that's not fair, right? Like, you're almost at a point where it's not fair to compare the two because of how just the novelty of it, I want to say. But boy, does it do things.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we were both really caught off guard by just how great that first season of American
Vandal was. Bro, we weren't pretentious. We put it on our top movies list. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't take that back.
It's the kind of thing that like seemed like it could not be good at all, and then stunned us with its depth, with its comedy, with its cleverness, how thought out it was. So, you know,
how something about drawing dicks can end up actually being not just something that's hilarious and very well thought out. The Instagram story, Snapchat story, pieced together episode being one of the best technically achieved and just narratively told. From season one. Fantastic, but also
weird
the
modern
depth it got into
story.
Yeah, and that ending, and the message that it actually had to say. It was the depth that they were able to get into it with the first season, and the second season is able to take that, right? And I'm not going to completely spoil it, right? Because again, they do that thing where it's so hard to pitch the show. Yo, watch this show about a high school kids where someone drew dicks and there's hair on balls, and that really becomes like one of the biggest factors of it. All right, you don't like that one? Maybe the second season, where a turd burglar decides to cause everyone to have massive... Like, how do you pitch this show? Yet somehow, the best way that I can pitch it to you is that... This isn't spoiling much because it's actually in the trailer. Season 2 acts as if Season 1 actually got picked up and was released on Netflix. These characters are real. Season 2's title sequence, not for the first episode, for all damn 8 episodes, is the actual student documentary titles, as in the characters are in the credits. It tells you that it's their senior film thesis.
Right. In
other words, the actual producers and everyone who always, plasters their name at the beginning of like who's starring and who's voicing it, they're at the end when it minimizes for the next episode. They took it to that next level, and I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about American Vandal is they will go and do those touches. Mm-hmm. Like it's got that meta commentary in that, the part of the plot of the second season is that it is a second season of American Vandal. It's just really crazy the way that they've made it so clever and reflective of media. I'm very curious to see how season 2 is. I haven't caught up with any of it yet. You're enjoying it so far, though.
I finished it. I loved it.
Oh, you finished it?
Yeah, I finished it. That was pretty good. Now, again, not as impacting as the first one was for me, but I still think it's a solid entry. I can't wait to see the next one.
Awesome. So as for me, I was also confronted with the big moral dilemma. Do I go with BoJack or do I go with American Vandal?
This is interesting. It's interesting. I thought we thought the same, and we usually do, but you picked BoJack.
I picked BoJack here. I did not want to, like you, get spoiled on any of BoJack.
Like okay, yeah.
We had been talking in the lead up to season 5, like, is this the season where they're gonna kill BoJack or something? I just did not want to find out secondhand. I wanted to find out straight from Netflix. I'm only halfway through the season so far, far enough into this season that I can say they have one of their all-time best episodes, maybe their best all-time episode this season. They just find newer and newer ways to challenge the limits of structural television and break through them and just do daring different things. I think if you've seen the first 6, you'll know what I'm talking about. That one episode, it pulls you in. You can't look away. It's so...
Is it episode 6?
It's an... maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just an emotional open vein. And I love that episode so much. And it has just the best ending. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your thoughts on it. I'm going to finish the rest of BoJack as well as American Vandal. And then on next week's Intercut podcast, we'll go more in depth on both of those shows because I know we have a lot of fans out there who also are fans of those shows. Mm-hmm. But I guess we should move on. No yay or nay this week. We just got to get into TIFF stuff because it's one of the major fall film festivals, and Art went out to Toronto, got himself a press pass, saw all the good movies that we are not yet privileged to see. Art, let's start it with this. What are some of your overall impressions of TIFF? It was your first time at the festival. I've gone twice in the past, but what did you like about it? What worked about it?
Well, I can't get back to the States. So, Canada, I'm staying here. I had enough Tim Hortons. My first time in Canada in general. I don't know how these rates work. Everything's different. Gas is $200 over here or something like that. So we're just saying people driving on the opposite side of the street. TIFF was cool because
I don't think they do that in Toronto.
They don't do that, but this was the first. This was the first big festival I want to say that we got a press passes to. So it was super interesting to be not just the small theater in the back, but the biggest theater with everyone else being press.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. How the public screenings
had a little bit more. Not quite the same.
Had a little bit more respect than the press. They stayed through the whole movie. The ones who paid for their tickets, they also didn't use their cell phones. But no, it was cool. I got to see. I want to say 16 around there. 16 movies. We came at the second half, so we were very limited on days and sleep and everything. So we really definitely want to. We're already excited for next year. Want to stay for the whole point of it, but. It was cool, dude. I love Tim Hortons over here. Drank it all the time. Just talking about the whole culture of it over here. The volunteers were super nice and dope. They had their stuff together. So shout out to everyone who was assembled and did the TIFF stuff ready. I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if you had this experience, but my experience of TIFF was that it's a festival where there's a lot of enthusiasm and general goodwill, not just with the volunteers, but with the audiences. You have lines around the block for movies that are not very well known at 10 a.m. because the people who go there really care about film and seeing new voices, emerging voices, talented filmmakers. So there's a passion in the room, especially if you can get in a room for one of those Q&As.
Yep.
I think most film festival Q&As are garbage because you get some really bad questions from the audience. Not so much a TIFF. The TIFF audience is really engaged.
Yeah, no, I like that. That was very enjoyable. I don't know if you have any questions on any of the specific releases. I kind of have a list, but
yeah. So let's start off with maybe some of your favorites from the fest. I know you were a big fan of mid-90s, among other movies.
Surprisingly. Now, I will say this. There was, I want to say 2 that I missed that I do regret missing. A lot of them I am going to cover, literally right when I go back to Chicago. There's the International Film Festival. One of them being A Star is Born.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to make that one. That one was getting a lot of hype and such, but that literally
People
comes out.
Already they're already ready to give it Best Picture.
They're giving it Best Picture, directing. They're saying Gaga kills it. She tweeted something out like in onomatopoeias or something, and they said those were the lyrics to her new song, where everyone's like bawling over. So I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be really cool. That comes out October 5th, though. You know what I mean? It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
So between A Star Is Born and Shoplifters, that was actually one that I was like very excited for, and that one's gonna be at Chicago, so I'm gonna be able to watch it there.
Great.
Other than those two, I pretty much saw everything that I wanted to see. And I still think Sundance... they're great films, but I still think Sundance tends to deliver more that I cannot wait to see again, with movies such as Searching and Hereditary and those. But out of the bunch, I want to say Mid-90s was my favorite. But it was such an interesting experience to see it, because Mid-90s is not a PC movie. Mid-90s is Boyhood by Jonah Hill. Mid-90s uses words that certain rappers in the mainstream at this point in time are getting crucified for, and it uses it with such ease because he's trying to embody that certain period in time.
Right.
I know that a lot of people came out of our particular screening hating the boys will be boys mentality that they saw from it. I don't see it that way. The reason I love the film, he shoots it in like the 90s aspect ratio. I want to say 4:3.
Yeah.
Atticus Ross. And who's he doing? Are they Atticus Ross, or is it Atticus Ross and the other dude? Oh, Trent Reznor. My bad. Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
Do the score, and it is. I'm not saying it's better than Social Network. I'm not saying that. It's not. But it's up there. You know what I mean? Like, it goes Social Network, then this. I'm saying that much. It goes Social Network, then this. The soundtrack, like the music that they were able to get into it, but specifically it's the performances between... I don't know the kid's name, but I know he was in A Killing of a Sacred Deer. Does a good job. You hate him. I never liked the kid throughout the movie, and I think that's a good thing. But it is... and I'm forgetting his name, and I don't. I'm going to search it up right now that I have it right here.
Sonny Suljic?
Nah, bro. No, keep going. There's another one over there. He splits his name. He's got a hyphen in his name.
Oh, not Kel Smith.
This guy comes in. Not Kel Smith. He dominates it. He dominates it not only in the character that he's playing, but in the performance that he has. I adored his character and what he stood for, but there's a specific scene, and that's like probably the biggest thumbnail that you see up there when you search it. The still, that scene's fantastic. There are moments that I said this. I told this to my girlfriend as soon as we walked out. I'm like, that man looks too much like X, and it's not like the rest of his facial. It's his eyes.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you've ever seen X, for those of you who know who I'm talking about, when he used to like go into his mode of talking about stuff and like life, this kid gets in that pocket, and I don't know. I just thought it was good. I thought who plays the mom? As I'm blanking right now.
Catherine Waterston.
Adorable, but she gets treated like trash in this movie. Lucas Hedges pretty much could have played the real Slim Shady. Lucas Hedges being in like 27 TIFF films, but no, I really liked it. Right. It's going to be really interesting to see how it's embraced because of the content in there.
Right. Yeah, not necessarily a film that everybody will respond to, but we are guys who grew up in the 90s to an extent, so I think there's a lot that we will... I'm anticipating responding to a lot. You clearly responded to a lot.
I don't think it condones a bunch of the stuff that's in there. It just shows you, like,
there's a difference between advertising it as a good thing to do and just depicting it as a real part of life.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs don't want you to eat people. That's just a story. Who do you like the most in Silence of the Lambs? It ain't Clarice.
Yeah.
It's your boy Hannibal. So, I like that. Absolutely. Was there any other movies that stood out?
I was really curious to see what you thought of First Man, because I saw your tweets, so I know it wasn't uniform enthusiasm, but we're talking about Damien Chazelle here, the guy who made Whiplash,
the boy,
the guy who made La La Land. Like, he's the boy. He's can do no wrong so far. Did he do wrong?
See, some people will see it just because it goes Whiplash, goes La La Land, and sadly it goes First Man.
Yeah,
it's not bad, but for me, there's a clear difference. Like, on the shelf, it goes like that. That's the order that it's going to go in. And what I found so interesting was, you saw my tweet, the GIF one?
with Ryan or with the PewDiePie GIF, I think it was.
Yeah, it was after I saw it that I got a mixed reaction of people going, "Oh yeah, definitely." Other people going, "Oh yeah, definitely." And I realized that some people misconstrued. What did you get from that tweet? The tweet was 40% of the shots in First Man, and it was PewDiePie going like this. What did you get from that tweet?
Lots of disorienting shaky cam.
100%. 40% of the movie is literally just doing that.
Yeah.
Some people thought it meant that I was going, "Oh, these shots are so good."
Oh yeah, I see that. Okay.
And I thought that was hilarious because it equally disappointed people going, "Oh man," and at the same time, other people went, "Oh man, that's exactly how I'm going." Look, I do not care for the first 2/3 of this movie. From the trailer, I was not inspired from it. I wasn't understanding what people were seeing in it. But they put us in IMAX, man. I went in there. I'm watching in IMAX, and it's standard. I'm seeing all the screen. I'm like, what's okay? The story with him is it's just Ryan Gosling playing Ryan Gosling. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And look, other bigger critics than me. You don't have to like my opinion, but other bigger critics than me have said the same thing. He is so uninteresting in the movie. And that's the point of it, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's the point of him.
Yeah, I've heard that as a criticism, but as a sort
praise
of
as well. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that he's able to handle emotions and he's the perfect person for the job. Well, so are a lot of, like, accountants and stuff, and we don't get movies about them in a sense.
Yeah.
But you know your boy comes in with the endings. Damien knows how to end the movie Chazelle.
Yeah,
he does something at the end of this movie. He does something at the end of this movie. That seems to be
the thing that separates him from other filmmakers is each one of his movies thus far has an ending that leaves people...
Zach, he does something at the end of this movie. I don't know how he pulled it off. It's wild. And you need to see it in IMAX. Or else I don't know if the trick works.
Interesting. I'm very, very excited about that. We are big fans of Damien Chazelle, and to see him take on something a little bit different, a little more ambitious... I'm very curious why it's left people so divided. Maybe it's just that character.
Man. It just drags. Yeah. Go watch the right stuff. Go watch Apollo. Like, I'll also tell you, it just does.
So there's also a bunch of movies from well-known filmmakers. Alfonso Cuarón is there with Roma. Steve McQueen is there with Widows. Barry Jenkins is there with If Beale Street Could Talk. Could you talk about any of those movies? Maybe which one jumped out to you the most?
Yeah, I'll put it in the order that I enjoyed them. And again, this list is, I don't care for the list. Y'all, it's because y'all want it, but to me, it's whatever I'm feeling at the moment. Beale Street Could Talk, I really loved. One of the biggest, I love the first half of the movie. The first half of the movie, I think, is gorgeous. It's beautiful. The relationship between these two is fantastic, and I stand by that. The best scene of the entire of my entire TIFF comes from that movie. It is the revelation scene between the parents. Fantastic.
Just
fantastic. And my girlfriend
of your seat stuff.
decided to go to the bathroom. Doesn't even know that scene existed. She doesn't even know that there's in-laws in the movie. That's why I hold my pee no matter what it is. Forget Pee Buddy or whatever that thing is. Run Pee. I don't care about that app. I'm watching the entire movie. I think you and I think we're going to talk about this more later on. There's been this whole big debate about some people thinking that the second half of the movie it feels like it wraps up a little bit too quickly. In a sense, other people saying that's the point, and unless you live that experience, you don't understand it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it both ways. I understood the ending and the purpose of it, and I've seen it in similar movies. I've seen that ending before.
Right.
You know, Crown Heights is what came to mind a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Recently from last year, but what I dug the most about it was the relationship. I thought the relationship was like one of the lines at the beginning being about how they never even saw each other in a certain like way sexually. They just loved each other. Like I don't know. It was like it was different than a bunch of the other romance movies that you see where it's just like this overly grand gesture on how they met and fell in love. And they were like, no, they just know each other. They've known each other forever.
This was just really tender and heartfelt in those moments.
Like a real relationship.
Feel like a real relationship. Yeah, it didn't feel like a movie relationship.
And I love that.
And big props to the actors in there. Stephen James, and I'm forgetting the lead woman's name, but I think they were both just so phenomenal in that movie. It's one of the few TIFF movies I've had a chance to see.
Kiki Lane, she was good. She was super subtle throughout the movie. But I know you specifically like Brian Terry Henry was his name?
Yeah.
He was good. You know, he comes in, he came out of nowhere. My thing was I wasn't trusting him because they were very skeptical about him. They're like, what's he got his motives? But I will say this as I move on to the next one over here because we are going to have a whole other thing about Beale Street coming up. My man killed it in Widows, though.
Oh yeah,
my man killed it. He
had a couple chances at the bat during TIFF.
He did. He killed it in Widows. And Daniel Kaluuya, I've never seen that man. That man's got eyes, right? And when you got eyes like Daniel Kaluuya does, you can do magic with them. In Get Out, which is the most iconic shot.
Just those tears bulging eyes.
Bulging eyes with tears coming out, and it just entices you.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's playing a hitman, those eyes are the scariest thing you'll see. This man does not care. Man, he kills it in this movie. Widows is the prime example of when I was telling y'all about Ocean's 8. Y'all keep arguing about Ocean's 8 when I said I liked it. I enjoyed Ocean's 8. But like a mother looking at her kid knowing she can do better, that was my biggest thing. I love all the actresses in Ocean's 8. I love the story in it. Definitely advance that. But what I'm saying is don't stop it in Ocean's 8. Give them original properties. Do your thing with it. That is Widows right here. Stephen McQueen comes in. Masterclass. At this point in time, I have it as my second favorite in the fest. I'm looking forward to seeing it again to catch all the little nuances. This is like a blockbuster for Stephen McQueen. But Stephen McQueen's made 12 years. This is the biggest that he's ever done for a blockbuster. This is the man who made Shame, Hunger.
Yeah, he's a very art house guy. That's what made the initial trailers for Widows so surprising. This does not seem like a Steve McQueen movie. Having seen it, does it feel a little more like a Steve McQueen movie?
There are points where it's just like, oh, we're watching like a blockbuster, like an Ocean's 8 type of heist thing. These widows are going to go and do a job, and then it reminds you, no, I'm still here. I wonder. It is one of those interesting things where I wonder how much of it were compromises. You'll know exactly when you see the movie. I don't think Steve McQueen's a person to reveal something, then have a character say it back to you.
Right.
And those are the points where I wonder, is that Steve? Or is this the bigger budget having to come into play?
Is this the studio?
Those were the only parts that really stood out to me. But there are moments where I definitely want to watch it again because Steve McQueen does a lot of. My girlfriend caught this a lot too. A bunch of the parallel shots that are seen in the movie and such. So it's good. Very great ensemble cast. This is an ensemble movie.
Yeah. I've heard that Viola Davis and Elizabeth Debicki are also really phenomenal in this.
The second actress, she's crazy. She's crazy. Yeah, she's wild. Very good.
Awesome. And then Roma, you haven't started yet, or told us about yet.
Roma. It's going to disappoint so many people on Netflix.
Yeah? So that's been the talking point on Twitter, an argument between whether or not you can actually appreciate Roma on Netflix, the company that made it and will be distributing it.
Roma had an art house installation at TIFF. Like there was a set. I don't know what you want to call it. An exhibition. An exhibit. Yeah. Just for the photography and TIFF. And again, my uncle Coron shot. He's a director of photography. Directed, wrote all of it. So those are all his shots in black and white. And it looks beautiful. It looks gorgeous. You have to have a really good TV to make sure that your contrast and everything is working well. That's okay. What surprised me the most was the audio. And I mean this like for a fact. The dude in front of me kept turning around. And I kind of did too. We thought someone was talking.
Interesting.
It was the kids in the movie in the other room.
Huh.
Starting in the back and walking to the front. Either we had the best audio system at the TIFF Bell Theater, or there is no way you're going to be able to fully grasp this movie when you're watching it at home. That was one of the most surprising things when it came to this. You would have never expected. It was like kind of like Black Klansman, that it was actually shot to be in Dolby randomly.
Yeah.
You will not get the fullness of this movie if you're not watching it with the surround sound, because that's kind of the point of it. You being completely immersed in this character. But the reason I bring this up is because I don't know how many art house people. There are some, but I don't know how many Netflix subscribers are art house people is what I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
How many people saw Beast of No Nation and then just like turned it off and went, I'm going to go to the Adam Sandler stuff, right? I'm going to go see Bright, whatever else. And this is to diminish it of anybody else. I wish people knew more about, or I wish I got a theatrical release at like music box theaters for the people who really want to go enjoy it, because it's not Children of Men. It's not Gravity. It is the complete opposite. Does it still deliver? 100%. It's in my top 5. Fantastic stuff. But it is such a subtle movie but you need patience with it. The two movies that I would say you need the most patience with that I saw, the biggest slow burns, Roma and Burning.
Oh, Burning. So Burning, a lot of people have been talking about. I believe this is a Korean-made movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Steve Yeun is one of the stars of it, from The Walking Dead. Did this one premiere at Cannes, I want to say?
I want to say it premiered there, and like people came out of it going, masterpiece. The boy like came out, fire emoji masterpieces on his letterbox, and I was like, I gotta check this out. And other people coming out saying, oh, it's great. This is cinema. This changes everything. And I was like, all right, let's go. That was one of the first tickets I bought. Roma, Burning. Getting ready to go see this movie. Sit down. It's 2 hours and a half.
It's an investment.
Should be 2 hours though.
Okay.
The last 45 minutes are incredible. But you got to sit an hour something in the beginning. And I'll say it to you, because I'm not going to ruin the movie for anybody else. It is a slow burn. Even if you like the movie, you're lying. You're lying through your teeth if you're not saying it's a slow burn. It is 100% correct. And I had the director there. The director was actually on the jury panel as well, but he was there and he was talking. It turns out the man speaks English, but he had this little translator there. And he was I liked him because he was like messing with the translator.
Oh yeah.
Like he was saying like funny, like he knew he was breaking the fourth wall of having a translator in a sense. I thought it was funny.
Right.
It's a very big investment in the beginning with these characters. A lot of it being a crucial part that plays into the last 45 minutes. And I'm talking like 90 minutes in, when it hits. And you're invested into it. Into it. And then it just goes, what do you think about that? What about what? Did you like it? And the credits are rolling. You're like, wait, what are you talking about? Answer me. Some people are going to adore the ambiguity. Other people will figure it out. I'm very curious to see your opinion on it. I still stand by the fact 30 minutes can be trimmed from the top. 25 at least. It can be trimmed from the top. I wish I could tell you what scenes, but there is legit scenes where I'm telling you, Zach, I don't need to see that. But the last 45 minutes are good. I have my theories on it. It's okay. It's not as good as another one that I will say that kind of deals with the same type of storytelling when it comes into a big span of time. Museo.
Okay, Museo, yeah.
Have you heard about this one?
I've only been seeing some tweets about it, but it's one of the ones that I didn't know about before the festival.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that stood out to me. There was a couple of Latino films that I was looking at that was pretty dope. This one starring Gael Garcia Bernal. It's a Mexican film. Takes place right in the heart of Mexico City. And it's about it's American animals in Mexico. That's what I tweeted out. It's American animals in Mexico. These two dudes decide to steal all of the like memorabilia there. Not necessarily memorabilia, but all of the artifacts from like Aztec culture and stuff. And they don't know what to do with it. Like they steal it, but it's a storytelling technique of it. And the movie proceeds, and then it ends on this line that you go, okay, that was weird. The movie all of a sudden skips. Like there's a jump frame. There's a jump cut. Why? The movie then starts narrating like what's happening, not like, and then this was the next thing. It was like, and now we're gonna do this montage. And you're like, what? This isn't even a spoiler. This is just like telling you the style that it goes
structure,
so you can embrace it. It's got a different structure, but it's not even like, all right, we're gonna be playing with structure. It's like, here's a normal movie for 60 minutes, jump cut. Where from where? and then you connect that final line. This is what I'm talking about, kind of coming back to kind of like with Burning, where that final sequence happens and you have to determine in Burning who was correct. In Museo, you take that final line and you have to connect that to a story somebody said earlier, and it makes you rethink the entire movie. I left the movie going, all right, it's just American Animals, the Mexican version, until you connect that line. And you start, whoa. And it's like a whole other aspect of it. So that one's probably been the biggest slow burn.
That's
been growing on me. That one's been growing on me a little bit more and more.
Awesome. So yeah, it seems like those are most of the movies you loved. I know that you also liked Green Book, which was one that I think a lot of people were surprised by. I don't know if it
Right?
was on a lot of people's radar before
Trailer's
it
trash.
premiered. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a very
Cliche.
typical by the numbers. Opposite guys end up learning
Director
about
of
life from
Dumb
each
and
other.
Dumber? Wait, I didn't even know that. It's one of the Farley brothers. I was like, I loved it.
Yeah, so tell me more about it. I don't know much about Green Book.
Super simple. Green Book is a book that back in the day, it gave you all of the things that if you were a black person, these were the hotels that you can stay in. That's why it was called the Green Book. Mahershala Ali plays this doctor musician who lives right on top of Carnegie Hall, right? Like right where your boy Neiman's going to play in Whiplash.
Yeah.
He lives there. Man's got a whole like shawl thing. And he needs to hire somebody who could protect him down when he goes to the South. He hires this guy called Tony Lip, played by Viggo Mortensen. Complete and utter buffoon. And I say this respectfully because I want to say the writer was actually his kid. This guy is a complete and utter, like... He's one of the most idiotic characters I've seen in a movie this year. And I loved every single bit of it. He is that dumb friend where you're like, how can you be this dumb? Keep hanging out with me. And their chemistry just worked. I know a lot of people came in, and it's interesting because it has 100% Rotten Tomatoes. But a lot of critics were going like, no, it takes more than a buddy cop movie to like fix injustice. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's very cliche at times. One of the best scenes happens in the rain for no apparent reason. Cool line. I don't know why y'all got up the car. But I think, and I said this, I think something can be Oscar bait and still be enjoyable. I think something can be a crowd pleaser and like definitely be manipulating audiences because it wants the awards and still work out. I liked it. Same thing with John F. Donovan. My man didn't need to edit the movie that hard.
Yeah, please tell me that my boy Dolan hasn't completely ruined this movie.
He can't help it.
So, for those of you who aren't up to date on the filmmaking career of Xavier Dolan, on a previous Intercut we covered the fact that his latest movie, The Life and Death of John F. Donovan or something like that, it had at one point starred Jessica Chastain. In fact, there was a poster released.
Bro, in fact, she had like 4 different wigs.
And none of those wigs are in the movie because there is no Jessica Chastain in the movie.
At all.
Because he cut her out. And still ended up with a plus 2-hour movie, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Like 2:10.
So, what is remaining? Is it worthwhile?
I enjoy it because I know the themes that this man always goes for. Like I said, the starter pack, the frenetic mom, the closet
Needle drop soundtrack.
Yes, it pops. You can tell every song. Jesus of Suburbia comes on. And it's literally just Jon Snow, who's also named John in the movie, John F. Donovan. Just dun, 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 dun. You can tell that every single song in this... You can tell that every song he puts in every movie, Xavier, was songs that were on his playlist, and he's doing everything possible to make a movie where he can insert it. He's doing everything possible to reenact arguments he's had with his mom. He's doing everything possible to make movies like this one that I want to say was based off of the letter he wrote to Leonardo DiCaprio. Mm-hmm. The whole movie being that John F. Donovan is this actor who's like a Teen Wolf type of actor, CWOC type of actor, who passes, and it's kind of the story on how this kid wrote him a letter, and they were exchanging these letters back and forth. That's the premise of the movie. 2 hours and it feels rushed.
Yeah, interesting. So, I remember you tweeted out that you want to see the 4-hour cut.
4 or 5, I don't know how long it is. I got to see it.
It gripped you that much that you think you would sit through that?
Yeah, because I like Xavier. And I like the entire cast that's in there. And as cliche and corny as it is, I don't care how good Room Kid is. Tremblay.
Yeah.
No 11-year-old talks like that.
Yeah.
But again, it worked for the scene, but I just wish that he were to give us more of it. But bro, I don't know, like this was everything. This was the kitchen sink. The cast that he had, the music that he had, the budget that he had, the scores that he had, the stuff he was doing with the camera. What's next?
So yeah, there are some more movies that you saw there. I don't know if there's anything else that you feel like you need to comment on, whether it's Hold the Dark or it's High Life.
Wait for Netflix. Yeah, I mean,
those are pretty much your favorites. What was there anything that you absolutely hated at the fest?
I'm only gonna mention one thing. I'm not the biggest fan of In Fabric. I was like, wow, this seems like so random. A big fan of the Duke of Burgundy. You and I both love that movie.
Peter Strickland.
Yeah, we love that movie.
Yeah.
In Fabric, I was excited. It's a story about this red dress that haunts people. The dress is haunted, dude. The dress comes to life.
That sounds cool.
Nah. I was like, what's going on in this movie? And I get it. It's cool. You know this. Someone, I forgot what they called it. You ever go to a screening and anything happens on screen? Ha! You know what I'm talking about. I forget what the name of it is.
There's sort of like the recognition laugh.
Yes. Ha! I understand that. Bro,
Yeah.
There's literal points where she goes to buy the dress and she just gets change back. And people were chuckling. Like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing here? I didn't hate it. I was just like, okay. It just feels so frantic. It feels so random. It feels so... He comes out and he says he was inspired by ASMR videos on YouTube. And his phobia of mannequins.
All right.
I said, all right, thanks for the screening.
Yeah.
This isn't for me. But Gwendolyn Christie was there. I saw her in the flesh. She was 2 feet away from me.
2 feet away from you and 2 feet above you?
Yes, no, it was 2 feet 2 yards. Damn, no, I walked right by. I was like, she is big. The hound never stood a chance. I'm gonna tell you that much. The final one that I'm gonna end here is The Lie, the Blumhouse movie called The Lie. I said, is this gonna be the first Joey King movie? Joey King being Ramona, kissing Booth, Slender Man. Girl can't catch a break over here on LME. Maybe this was gonna be the one. Tragedy happens. I have never in my life see a movie go just decent. I'm being 100% serious with you. The movie got so bad, no one took it seriously. I felt like, because they had the Q&A afterwards.
Yeah.
Everyone was just laughing at it. Not laughing with it. You can tell they were laughing at it.
Ooh.
It was like, remember in the scene of The Disaster Artist?
Yeah.
When people just stopped caring that the filmmakers were there and they just laughed at it. People were just like, this is dumb. This is ridiculous. People were rolling their eyes, just fanning themselves. Then the ending happens. Like the last 5 minutes of the movie happens and everyone goes... The Mist.
Oh, okay.
It's not plot-wise. But Zach, you know what I'm talking about when I say The Mist. That's the reaction it got.
Yeah.
It's since The Mist, I never had a movie go so bad as being the worst movie I'd ever seen at a festival ever. To literally the best for 5 seconds.
Just clutched from the grips of badness.
From
to
hell,
completely
the Lord
blow you
came
away at the end.
and take this and go, what? And then it goes steady, down, up, and then just disintegrates. It doesn't go back down. I just don't know.
Just evaporates into vapor.
It's like, does that even make any, I don't know. Some people came out mad. Some people came out, they couldn't believe they sat through that. The Mist. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Oddly, you've made
It's
me
intriguing,
very, very
right?
intrigued. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm probably going to go look out for that movie.
I will say
now.
this is going to get one of the biggest reactions when it gets a release date.
Awesome. So those are a bunch of the movies that you saw at TIFF.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know which of Art's recommendations you're curious about in the comments down below. Wanted to talk a little bit about TV because there's a lot of new TV on the horizon that's just sort of ended recently that we are trying to catch up with. I know Art's talking about trying to get up with Succession and Sharp Objects and a couple others in the next couple weeks.
HBO.
We're actually recording this the night of the Emmys, so we don't yet know the winners, but we want to talk about that on next week's show, as well as get into some more details about all these shows. I did want to touch on a couple of the series that I watched. I got to finish the second season of Ozark. I forget, did you watch the first season?
Loved the first season.
Yeah,
I think it's bonkers.
Yeah, it has a crazy ending, and I kind of pejoratively refer to it as like
Breaking Bad light. I know you were one of the first to call it that.
B- Breaking Bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a little better than that, but it does have that really gripping, like, what is going to happen next? How are they going to get out of the situation kind of thing. It doesn't have anything like mind-blowing the way that Breaking Bad did, where there's like moral questions that are hard to answer, but it's just a very entertaining, crime family show. It works. The second season, I think, does something really interesting in that, whereas the first season was very much Jason Bateman's story, he almost plays a supporting role to Laura Linney in the second season.
That man took a side seat.
He's kind of doing his thing, and he has some interesting stories, but it's Laura Linney who really like grabs this whole like crime laundering money thing by the neck, and it just, you see her descent into queenpindom or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And how eager she is to do it. It's just real. I think she was fascinating on this season. I would think that she should be a contender for the Emmys at the next year, given her performance.
I've only seen a couple episodes, but I agree with you. It's like it's like, oh, y'all think we Breaking Bad? Well, guess what Breaking Bad didn't do with Skyler?
Exactly.
And they did the opposite.
This is like if they really went down that road with Skyler. If Skyler turned out to be more fearsome than Walter White.
Yep.
That is season 2 of Ozark. So if that sounds appealing to you, I would absolutely catch up with the show. I do kind of think the second season might have been better than the first, but...
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I've also been enjoying Succession. I want to talk to you more about that once you catch up with it. But to me, it's one of my favorite shows of the year. The pilot was directed by Adam McKay, which I think is relevant because in tone, this is pretty similar to The Big Short, that recent Adam McKay movie that was all about the financial collapse. This one, we're dealing with corporate infrastructure, but also a family. It's this weird mix of family and business. It's kind of like the Murdoch family or the Disneys or something, where this family is in charge of the 5th largest media conglomerate in the world, and the plan is for the father to pass along being CEO to his son. But when the father decides he doesn't want to pass on his CEO-ship, the whole family starts to bicker and fight, but still go to dinners together because they're a family.
Yes.
It feels... We were talking about this before the podcast. It looks like it's going to be Margin Call or one of these like stark dramas about the financial sector. Instead, it's this like almost highbrow Office.
That's so weird to me.
It's like about how these very mediocre people end up being in charge of these really gigantic corporate decisions, and they're basically buffoons, but they can't show that they're buffoons. I love this show. I mean, it shows. I think it does a really great job of examining the way that just because these people are blood relatives of someone who started a gigantic company does not mean that they are too equipped to themselves run a giant company or be involved in this. That money doesn't necessarily carry intelligence or importance, and to see these people just surrounded by opulence but not really be that good at what they do, it's a very interesting contrast. I think I'm always forgetting this. I want to say it's Kieran Culkin and not Rory Culkin, but it's definitely a Culkin brother. Is so funny on this show as Roman, the kind of jack off on younger brother. I really, really enjoy Succession. I want to get more deep into it with you when you catch up.
Catch up on it. Is season 2?
Yeah.
Is this like one? That's
no, just season 1.
It's just a miniseries?
10 episodes on HBO for season 1.
No season 2?
Not yet, at least.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you think it needs one?
Yeah, it needs to go on. Okay. It has a really killer finale that's going to shake everything up for the next season.
You say it is better than Barry season 1?
No, but
okay, no, that's fine. No, you didn't explain. I just remember.
It is also in my top 5 alongside Barry.
Top 5. What are your other ones?
I can't reveal that now, man. We're getting close to the end of the year. I got to keep that list under wraps.
All right. What was the other one that you saw, though? Did you have another HBO show?
Yeah, I finished Sharp Objects.
Delivered or no?
So, I'm going to say this. I felt satisfied watching the show. I was really enjoying trying to piece it together, the mood of the show. It's a little bit of a slow burn. I'd say episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Episodes 2 and 3 might not even be necessary. It picks itself back up in the last couple of episodes, and things become more intriguing. But it does this thing which I'm not sure what to think about it. I actually was talking to Bailey of Breaking Banter on Twitter a little about this, because we were on opposite sides. It does this thing where it'll show you flashes of flashbacks or memories or old or other things happening, and it's only a moment, so it's hard to register. But it's supposed to operate like how we have memories, right? You get like flashes of stuff, and you kind of remember it, and this is the context for that. This conversation is difficult because I remember that little thing.
I guess.
But it ends up putting a lot of interesting information into like just a couple frames, and I'm like more interested in the show that they're not showing us than the show they are showing us.
Thank you. I read the book because I've read all her books. I think she's a fantastic writer.
Gillian Flynn.
Widows was the first time because she wrote Widows.
Right.
I keep forgetting she wrote Widows. I saw her name at the end. I was like, oh snap! I keep forgetting. I think that's the best time she's been able to adapt something. Maybe because it was just something completely different.
Right.
I've said I like the Gone Girl book way more than the movie. Fincher's great, but there are certain elements that you do visually that I thought Gone Girl did, similar to what Sharp Objects does with those little memory things, that I feel takes away from the actual narrative that's happening. And even more so here, because I want to say this is even shorter than Gone Girl when it comes to the book.
Yeah.
And they kind of hobbited it. How many episodes is the show?
8?
That's 8 hours.
Yeah, I don't think it needed to be 8 hours. Like I said, I was satisfied when I was there watching it. I enjoyed sitting down and trying to find out the mystery at the end. But as I'm sitting with it, I would not go back to it. I don't feel like I gained a lot from it. And worst of all, I don't want to spoil it, but they give you a final bit of information in a post-credits flash.
Nope. That's a no for me. No.
I don't know. I'm not at the point where I feel ready to let TV do post-credit stuff.
Nope.
Especially if it's just going to be a few.
Westworld just did it. Oh, you mean like actual post credits?
It's like mid credits.
See, I know the ending.
Okay, yeah. So
and I'm trying to pick up on some of the stuff. That's why I think it's so weird for me, because it's like when you watch something, you would think Sharp Objects says you get to the end and then you go, I got to rewatch this all again.
Exactly.
I know it, and I'm trying to pick out the points where it's supposed to.
It's there in flashes, and it's there in maybe a line or two of dialogue, but it's a stretch.
Not enough.
And when you get to the ending, I wasn't really convinced, even though they tell you what happened.
Yeah. Now I will say this, because I know some people are very strong on Sharp Objects. Before you come after us with Sharp Objects, I love the book. So I'm clear. He hates it though. He hasn't even read the book. Go get this. I think the book's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if you'll agree with me when you do finish the Sharp Objects series. I will say that the acting was uniformly great. Patricia Clarkson, Amy Adams, Chris Messina. I did really like those performances. I just didn't think there was enough substance in the show itself.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But that's a lot of the TV I've been watching recently. Let me know if you've seen any recent series in the comments down below. And remember that on next week's Intercut, we're going to get much deeper into a bunch of different TV shows.
Especially the big two.
Yeah. Give us some BoJack and American Vandal breakdowns. It's gonna be good. But we should get to the end of the show. I don't have a new to see ready, so let's go straight to picks for the week. Art, what would you recommend for the people?
Most definitely. I mean, it's not only because we're going to have the show next week talking about it, but this is literally the two shows you and I mentioned almost every other episode.
This is like our relationship.
Pretty much.
Talking about BoJack and American Vandal.
Literally is. One of y'all messaged me on Twitter, tweeted me, recommending BoJack Horseman. If you ever disrespect us like that ever again, don't you ever do that. Of course we've seen the show.
I take that as a personal offense.
That is offensive. You can say whatever you want about my family, but don't you ever ask me or recommend BoJack Horseman to me, because of course I've seen it. BoJack Horseman, American Vandal. You got several seasons of BoJack to catch up on.
Yep.
Definitely give it its time. It's got some of the funniest stuff. And American Vandal season 1 and 2. That again, one of my favorites. I'm not saying American Vandal is better than BoJack. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying
Yeah.
is American Vandal Season 1 did make both of our lists as the top of our year for last year. I completely adore it. Season 2 delivers just as well. But if you haven't seen Season 1, I am so jealous of you. I'm so jealous that you get to experience it completely. So definitely go watch those. In terms of movies, there's a little movie called Searching Out. Definitely go see it.
Yeah.
We got yet another interview coming out. That one's going to be on the A to Z show. So, watch Searching. Turns out that I'm still missing things, and I'm a little peeved. Because I thought I had it all figured out.
Apparently, Magnum Opus Part 2 is the thing.
Part 2. Y'all thought Green Lightning was the only thing to find out. Turns out there's a whole other thing. And I love how we're doing good. We've got 50% of the movie, according to the producer down. But, yeah. Go watch Searching.
So, and definitely be on the lookout for our other interview with Sev, which will be dropping on the ATZ Show's channel in the next week or two. My pick for the week, it's actually a new documentary that popped up on Hulu. Have you heard about Mind the Gap?
I've been hearing about this in Sundance, and I literally saw your thing on Letterboxd. You had it at what, number 2?
Yeah. I loved this documentary, man.
Okay.
I put it on, and something about it in the first couple of shots, I just felt like it was something special. It's this GoPro footage of skateboarders, but there's an intimacy to it. You can tell it's like a group of good friends, and the set to this like really inspiring music, and then you go deep on their lives and you figure out like that skateboarding isn't just a hobby, it's an escape, and it keeps pulling on these different threads, whether it's racism or class and poverty or domestic violence, and just pulling on them and finding more and interesting details. I thought this was just one of the most interesting, well-rounded, wide-reaching documentaries I've ever seen. And it happens to be the debut feature documentary of one of the subjects of the documentary. One of the 3 friends that this documentary is about is Bing Liu, who wrote and directed this documentary. And filmed it, mind you. He's got an unbelievable cinematic eye. There's shots in this that are better than many shots you will see in fictional movies this year. I was blown away by this film. I was weeping at the end of this film. It is far and away the best documentary I've seen this year. Haven't seen the Mr. Rogers one. I don't care. I loved Minding the Gap. You have to catch up with it. It's on Hulu now. How are we
gonna talk about mid-90s being my favorite movie from TIFF? Are you gonna tell me that there's literally the documentary version of mid-90s?
Bro, it's in my Letterboxd review, I described it as like almost impossibly intimate. Like the conversations they have in this movie, it's like the stuff you want to talk about, but you have no way of bringing up, and you never know how to bring it up.
Should I watch it right now?
Dude, do it. Like, it's worth your time. It is well worth your time to stay up late.
Before I get BoJack, do this?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say watch it before BoJack. Okay. BoJack will still be there. It's an hour and a half. It's not a big ask.
Yeah.
And it is an emotional wallop. I loved
I've been hearing, since Sundance, I've been hearing it here and there. Sundance producing some of the best documentaries. I'm not even gonna lie. But I remember hearing about it at Sundance and people here and there. But when I saw it on your top 5, I was like, oh, top 2. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and it's on Hulu. So it's like literally, Hulu's like $4.
Free trial, maybe you can get it.
Free trial as well. Watch it then dip. All right, that's dope. That's cool. Have you seen Skate Kitchen?
No, but I've been hearing a lot of interesting things about that, so maybe I'll try and catch it this week. Have you seen it yet?
I have not seen it. I know like Jaden Smith is in it. Again, that was another one that came out, and I know both of those were like Skate Kitchen, Minding the Gap. Very similar subject matters because they both deal with skating, but I'm hyped for it then now too. I'm hyped for it. If you hear a bad thing about it.
Skate Kitchen is directed by Crystal Moselle, who previously did the Wolfpack documentary. So I'm really curious to see her transition into fictional for a first time. But yeah, let us know if you catch up on American Vandal, on BoJack, on Minding the Gap, on anything, down on Searching. Definitely let us know if you've seen Searching in the comments down below. Please don't spoil any of those for us. But that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me by following me on Twitter @Zshevich or on Instagram also @Zshevich, and you can go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/multiplexshow. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me in Niagara Falls until I leave in the next couple of days, where you can then just find me at the A to Z show. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Been posting about this entire trip. Finally coming to an end. Then we'll be going to New York and then probably doing the West Coast on the next one over there, starting with Sundance and all that other stuff. But the road trip's been pretty cool. Gonna get back to making more videos back on the podcast over here. So you can follow me at the A to Z show on YouTube. Let me explain. We passed 150K. We didn't even realize. We were waiting for a screening. We saw, we're like, yo, appreciate you guys. You guys know where to find us. You guys know where to find us here. Intercut.
Yeah. Intercut available every Thursday. I forgot we did the switch. Every Thursday, you can catch up with the audio feed on your favorite podcatcher, whether that's iTunes or SoundCloud. Hey, Alexa, play the Intercut Pod.
I can't find the
That was poor.
Man. Alexa, sell yourself.
Alexa, play the Intercut Podcast. It thinks I'm saying the internet. Anyway, Alexa
I can't
now
buy the
plays our
internet.
podcast. If she'll listen to you, try asking it to play the Intercut Podcast and make sure you use your diction, because she doesn't seem to get a whole lot. But yeah, we're available on a bunch of different services. Also, you can catch our video feed on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod. That's the handle for all of our social media, where you want to find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Catch up with us throughout the week by finding us at Intercut Pod. We'll be sending out the latest from me, from Art, from all of our guests who've been on the show. Great place to keep up with us throughout the week. But that does it for this week's Intercut. And remember, Sundance is better than TIFF. Who knew?
It is. I don't know how to tell you.